Hi guys, Matt Nicholson here with Niagara University, and I'm going to talk a little bit about power play today. So if you're on a power play, you're going to start with a face-off, so I thought we'd start there. One of the biggest things about face-offs that I think a lot of people don't think about is the amount of stoppages that happen in a game. So in a typical game, there's usually 80 to 90 stoppages. Most of those face-offs, again, are happening in the end zones, whether they're 5-on-5, 5-on-4. As a coaching staff, we talk about winning every draw, but obviously there's certain times of the game and certain situations on the ice where the draws are more critical, and the power play we feel is one of those. Well, another interesting stat I think a lot of people don't know is that the power play percentage for a good centerman, or face-off percentage I should say, is around 52 to 55%. It's very important that your centerman that you're getting to take the draw, make sure that they do not get kicked out. The analytics say that if a player gets kicked out, the next forward that comes in and takes the draw operates at 45%. So using a baseball analogy, there's a big difference over the course of the season from a 300 hitter to a 295 hitter, and especially at the National Hockey League level and even at the Division I level, when you're taking between 400 and 600 draws, that little bit, that 5% can make a huge difference. One of the things to think about and to tell your centerman when taking a face-off is recognizing where the linesman actually drops the puck. There's a lot of different variables: how tall the linesman is, how short the linesman is. Are they pretty strict on throwing guys in or out? Do you have the league rules? Do you have to put the stick in as the defensive team? We talk to our players that even as the offensive player, it's not a bad idea to put your stick down first. Oftentimes, your centermen are some of the better players and more skilled guys on your team, but when it comes to face-off, we've found that the guys with the best hand-eye coordination, some of our more skilled players, are the best at taking draws. As you can see by the spray paint here, we've drawn the area that the linesmen typically drop the puck. There's a misnomer that the puck is often dropped right in the middle of the dot. Unfortunately, in the reality of the situation of the game, the linesmen are dropping it in this area, and in an effort for self-survival, their motion is away from the circle. So doing my best ref demonstration of a linesman and a ref, as soon as that puck's dropped, they're getting out of the way so that they don't take a stick in the face or get slew-footed. One of the most important points to think about for the players that are on the back side of the ref or the linesman is making sure you guys can identify when the elbow moves. So from the backside view, the first thing that is going to go, it doesn't matter whether I'm presenting the puck or if I'm coming from my hip, is going to be the elbow. So we instruct our players that as soon as they see that elbow or wrist move, the guys on the half wall can start to cheat it. Because let's be honest, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Continuing on with the guys that are on the half wall, you can see in this position we have two players that are set up in an equal opportunity situation, abiding by the rules. As I said before, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So what we instruct our players is, once that ref turns his back, if we can, at all costs, move the back part of your heels into the markings, so that now you, as an offensive or a defensive player, have the advantage to get to the puck. Again, the game is a speed game, a game of inches, and every possession counts. In this situation, the players lined up in a defensive set that could be a 5-on-5 or a penalty kill situation. But as you see, conversely, it can work the same for an offensive player. In this situation here, we've set up a mock one draw. Oftentimes, the statistics for the centermen are readily available in between periods and after games, and it's the centermen that catch the flack from the media, the fans, and the coaches. But that's not the full story. We make sure that we work with our wingers in terms of jumping the draw, as we mentioned, but also having your wingers help. The face-off is really a 5-man unit, but especially there's a lot of emphasis on the wingers and the three forwards up front. So in this situation, picture a draw one, it's in the center's feet, they're tying up. You have to know what you want to do on a face-off. So if your face-off sequence is where you want it to be kicked back which is usually the case of the defenseman, it's often advantageous to put a winger on his strong side. So a left winger, as you see, on his left side, a right winger if it was on the other boards on the right side. So in this situation, the puck's been won, a battle's ensued, the players come forward and win the puck back to the defenseman. Going back to the importance of knowing the rules in your league, it's important that you find out what the situation dictates in the offensive zone, meaning does the defensive player, in this case, have to put his stick down first, followed by the offensive player. Going back to the statistics on face-offs, knowing that a good face-off centerman is winning between 50 to 55% of the draws, and when getting kicked out, that number drops to 45%. The net loss on that, as we spoke of over the year, can be detrimental, not only for power play, but other situations. What we instruct our guys to do is make sure that you have a plan, you're prepared, collected and connected all the time, but especially on face-offs, the centerman's the quarterback, make sure his guys are set, everyone knows what we're doing, and we tell them to get the stick in first. Because oftentimes, the player that gets the stick in first has an advantage in terms of the potential hand-eye with the dropping of the puck, and also linesmen at times are more apt to drop when they see that offensive player gets in first. Is any of the broken sticks that we have, we tape up the bottom part by the blade, and we call them nubs. Another way to do that, if you don't have the access to broken sticks, is have your players flip their butt end of their stick over. So essentially they're trying to win the draw with their butt end. So in this scenario, we're going to drop 2 pucks to our centerman, and he's going to try to win the draw with the butt end of his stick. You can imagine, after doing this and getting a lot of repetition at it, when you have a full blade, it becomes much easier. After working with the centerman individually, in order to put some competition and have some fun at the end of practice, we bring our guys together, oftentimes head to head, and then also as a line, and have a competition with our nubs and then with our regular sticks. One of the biggest things in winning the face-off is knowing where the puck is. Oftentimes at minor hockey, but also junior level, which would surprise you, we see players that aren't watching the puck. That's the object that they want to win back, but they're staring at the dot. So in this situation, we have one player on my left that is into the face-off circle. Regardless of whether he has his stick down or not, he's staring at the dot. He can't see where that puck is, how the linesman is presenting it, if he's presenting it and dropping it, or if it's coming from another area. Our player on my right, he's watching the puck, as we say, like a dog on a bone, following that puck around, so he knows and can see as it comes in, and that might be the slight advantage in winning the draw. We've talked about face-offs, and now we're ready to win the puck back. There's a variety of different penalty kill systems out there that either pressure straight out at both your defensemen, or oftentimes come across on an angle to try to push the puck to the wall. One of the things that we find through our video analysis is we talk about 3 points of pressure. So just keeping it very basic, their weak side winger is going to pressure your weak side D for point 1. Your inside centerman is going to pressure your strong side D for the second point of pressure. And oftentimes their board side defenseman is going to pressure your winger. So essentially the last 2 guys that are left are your inside, your weak side winger, and your centerman, left with 1 defenseman. So what we tell our guys to do is understand this may be happening in a game situation, and just like we try to break pucks out and talk about good ice in the middle of the ice, we're going to win the puck back to our strong side D. Our centerman in this basic situation is going to flank and flare out to the middle of the ice, presenting his stick for a target, with our D with his head up is going to make a play essentially around their first forechecker as follows. One of the things with hockey that we found as our staff is that a lot of players coming up, again, even at the collegiate level, are unaware of spatial awareness. Too oftentimes I think we get caught up as coaches of teaching a system, but not teaching the system within a system. In this situation here, you can see the red box is diagrammed. We refer to this as no man's land. This is an area of the ice that as a player on the half wall, if you're feeling pressure from a strong side D that you can retreat to, that is going to buy you some more time and space, and often will make the checking penalty killer feel quite uncomfortable. The strong side D is super important in 5-on-5 and 5-on-4, 5-on-3 situations. And what we tell our guys is don't make the job of the penalty killer easier. And what I mean by that is in this position you can see their penalty kill forward with our defenseman, and there's roughly a stick length and a half or 2 stick lengths between the two of them. In this situation we would talk to our D about making his job easier. We want to make it hard on our competition. And with that being said, we like to tell our D, as you can see from the markings back here, to have his feet on the blue line or outside of the line. His stick is still onside should he have the puck, but it buys him more time and space, as you can see now 3 to 4 stick lengths away, and also buys him his partner time should he move it laterally across the ice. For this sequence here we have our weak side D lined up with his feet on or outside the line. Again, it makes D a little bit uncomfortable when you're first asking them to do this. It gets them out of their comfort zone, but with helping them positionally and helping with their hands, feeling confidently handling or getting rid of pucks, we find that eventually they start to settle in. One of the things, we have a line drawn. That line is in line with the short side post. And the reason why we tell our D to be on the short side post is that if he does receive a lateral pass from his partner, he can move with the puck and get outside the checking lane of the high forward, whether that be in a 5-on-5 or PK situation. He always has his space to move to, but he doesn't pigeonhole himself with being too wide. Obviously there are times and places where you do want to spread them out with having wide D, but that's why we talk about the markings on the ice. The marking right here is the mid bar, and the power play we're talking about today is the 1-3-1 power play. That seems to be a hot topic in the last couple of years in a power play that we've seen from youth hockey all the way to the National Hockey League. One of the biggest things, as we'll demonstrate in a few minutes, is as the top D, you want to move their checker beyond the mid bar of the line. Pull him across, which will open up space on the weak side and also change the shooting angles on the goaltender. Here we are set up in a 1-3-1 situation. We have our point man at the top, we have our flank on his off one-timer side, and we have the man in the middle that we refer to as the bumper. Talking before about spatial awareness for hockey players, it's very important that they know where they are on the ice. And what we've done is we've drawn the line from neutral zone dot through to the face-off dot to the goal line. As you can see, the player's position is at the top of the circle. He will play in this area anywhere between the top of the circle, the dot, or even lower underneath the hash marks like you see a lot of times with Alex Ovechkin in Washington. The reason why we want to have a player in this general vicinity is because he's playing with inside the dots. You guys have probably heard about the house and the good ice in the middle of the house. The closer you get to the middle of the ice, we all know that you have 5 holes to shoot at. The further out you belly out to the wall or the half wall, the advantage goes to the goaltender. So again, we want to make percentage plays, we want to take percentage shots on any setup on the power play, but especially in a 1-3-1 situation. When on a power play, possession by face-off and by controlling the puck through puck protection and passing is very important. But at the end of the day, in order to score, you have to shoot the puck. We talk about making sure that when you are going to shoot the puck, that you take high percentage plays, and it's without being said that they're on the net. In this situation, we have our flanker set up in a nice spot in line with the dots, top of the circle, and a perfect situation where a pass comes midline on his body and he hits a one-timer. Yep. Perfect. In our last sequence, our player on the flank had a really nice shot. The puck was midline on his body. He got all of it and it hit the net. What we find is if guys aren't diligent with their positioning, when the puck comes, they start to get happy feet and belly out to the hash mark. As you see in this next sequence, when the player bellies out to the hash mark, his angle for shooting the puck on net diminishes and advantage goaltender on the PK, which we don't want. In a game situation, not every pass is going to be on the tape, and we realize that. So we try to coach our guys up about recognizing situations, when to shoot the puck and when not to shoot the puck. In this next sequence here, we're going to have our flank set up on the outside. The pass is going to come from the defenseman in the middle of the ice. But in this situation, we're mimicking when the D-man is rushed and maybe the pass is a little bit behind our player. At the youth levels and the minor hockey levels, we often see that the players are so fixated on shooting the puck that they often set themselves up for failure and take a bad shot. In this situation, we want to make sure if it's behind us that we cradle it. We can take a step forward for a wrist shot, or you'll see in another clip, we can return the puck back to a defenseman, assuming he's open. Puck movement on the power play in a 5-on situation stimulates the speed game. So the more we move the puck and the quicker, the better we can run our power play and get the opposition out of their alignment. In this situation, a puck is behind our flanker. He takes a shoulder check to the net to make sure he knows where the opposition is. He returns it in a give and go fashion to the defenseman, who gives it back for a one-timer. The situation has to be right for this to happen, but when the puck moves quickly, it often catches the goalie by surprise. Speaking again on the 1-3-1 power play, we have a setup here where we have our flank on the half wall, we have our bumper in the middle, and we have our two defenders, our strong side D with a stick over, and our strong side winger. The bumper on a 1-3-1 power play is super important because he has to be very aware of the spacing of his teammates. You are always trying to find a 2-on-1 situation in the game of hockey, but especially on a power play. And your bumper guy is often one of your smartest players on the team. So in this situation, we have a bumper in the middle of the ice, but where he's positioned right now is going to make it very easy for that weak side winger to cover him. So what we try to have our players do is visualize these imaginary boxes and move him into the box where he is presenting a target. He's still 7 to 10 feet away from his player with the puck, but he's in between coverage between the strong side D and the weak side forward, and a pass is easily made. Perfect. Here we are in the middle of the ice again. We have our flank with the puck. We have our bumper moved into a better position. We have our line on the ice. A lot of penalty kills dependent upon their structure, but they have the defenseman not going too much past the dot, and unless it's 3 situations. We talked about the 3 B's: backs, bobbles, or boards. So if a player turns their back, they bobble the puck, or it's on the dash or along the boards. That's when you see defensemen typically jump a guy in the flank. If they're facing them, eyeball to eyeball, if you can see the chest, a lot of the D play patient. In this situation, we still have our top-down winger, so our bumper man has found the space in the middle of the ice. This situation here, if he can find that space, is going to make it very uncomfortable for the weak side penalty kill forward. Because if I'm the weak side winger and I stay here in line with my top defenseman, the quarterback, he's wide open for a shot. Oftentimes you have to respect that man in the middle, so they bring their weak side forward over to check the bumper. Now what has this opened up? Assuming that the player on the flank can make a play to the defenseman, we have a line behind me, and we also have the flank on the opposite side wide open for a shot. You often see this with the power play in Washington, where they find Oshie in the middle, and if he's covered, they kick it back up top and over to Ovechkin. The guy at the net front, or net front presence as we refer to him, is key, just like any other player on the ice. He's going to be essentially tying up a defenseman or taking away the eyes of a goaltender. The goaltenders are too good nowadays with their size and the instruction they get from minor hockey up to the National Hockey League, that if there's not traffic in front, it's often very hard to score a goal. We talked about it earlier about trying to find 2-on-1 situations on the ice. So when we had our flank situation, we had a 2-on-1 from the flanker and the defenseman on their high forward. As the puck moves down the ice, sometimes you need to have support, so we've moved our net front guy from net front down to the goal line area. One of the most important things for him, though, is to realize that he has to be aware of his position, because if he's in the corner where the X is and I move the puck down, it's going to be a lot easier for this strong side D to recover and meet him on the goal line. In our second scenario here with our net front presence, we've now put him in a more advantageous situation where his feet are on or above the goal line, and he's in line with our imaginary line with the dot. Why this is important is because as I make a play from a half wall down to my man on the goal line, that extra 5-6 feet is now going to be detrimental to the strong side D, and of a great importance to our net front presence that's bellied out, because he's now going to be able to beat that player to the net, to either attack the goal line, find someone on the back door, or potentially to go into the bumper.
5-on-4. Brouwer feeds. Ribeiro for Brouwer, he scores!
We've talked about the flank, we've talked about the quarterback D and the net front presence. When the pucks move down to the goal line, assuming we have the proper position and our player attacks the net, again, two new 2-on-1s are established. The puck goes goal line, you have your man on the back door, assuming you can make a straight pass or maybe a saucer pass over the goaltender's stick. Or it's very important that the bumper, as he sees the puck move to the net, he also moves into play. Essentially, you're going to have an outnumbered situation. You're going to have 3 points covered: the back post, the high slot, and the near post.
Backstrom one more time, down with Ribeiro, out in front, they score!
We talked about the 3 Bs before: backs to the puck, bobbles of the puck, and if it's on the boards or the dasher. So in this situation, we talked before with our defenseman, but it also works for any forward. We have a box up top we call no man's land. That's a safe spot or home base. At times we find if players climb that they will shake the checker. So in this situation, you're going to see a bobbled puck. The strong side D is going to attack me. I'm going to escape and go up to no man's land, which is going to make him uncomfortable. He's going to fall off. Recognizing that, I can attack back down on him with time and space to make a play. Certain penalty kills are more aggressive than others, and oftentimes they'll be instructed that whoever's on the man, in this case the strong side D, is to follow him wherever the player goes, especially again if there's a back bobble or boards. This sequence here, you're going to see the D follow me all the way up to the no man's land. The difference here, now not being able to come back down and attack the cage, I'm going to pass it laterally to my defenseman on the line. Again, we talked about his positioning with his feet on or above the line, stick on the ice. You have to have a little bit of ice in your veins, both as the passer and the defenseman, to pull this play off, because you have to move the puck at the last second. That's the 2-on-1 we're finding there. If they start to bull rush your D in the middle, he can touch pass it to their flanker that hopefully will have a shot opportunity but be able to attack the cage on the other side. The defenseman at the top, often referred to as the quarterback, is super important. We talked earlier about the mid-bar and wanting to pull the penalty killers across the mid-bar to open up other flank opportunities or to shoot the puck on the net. In this next sequence, you're going to see a play from low to high, from a flanker to a defenseman. He has great positioning with his feet on or above the line. He's going to have his head up and he's going to walk across the ice on myself, who's going to mimic the penalty kill forward. As he gets past the mid-bar in a game situation, he has to decide whether to shoot the puck, move it to the flank, or in this sequence you're going to see go back to the same side the puck came from, which should hopefully open up a hole. Power play situations, oftentimes you're under a lot of duress, or even 5-on-5. The way the game is and the way the game is heading, it's very hard to score, and space is at a premium. In order to make quick decisions, or we refer to as hockey sense, we try to supplement some drills like this one, which we call boggle, or old school monkey in the middle, to help stimulate our players. And again, a lot of guys have to understand that you're not ever attacking a player, but you're attacking space. That goes for on a power play, it goes for our forward versus a D in any situation on the ice. So what we like to do, we have our guys at the beginning of practice get around the outside of the circle, get some quick touches, get their hands, get their minds into it. Eventually we move a player into the middle, okay, the old monkey in the middle, and what we really try to have our guys do is recognize spatial situations. In this case, my defensive posture, if I'm the defensive guy, there's space between the bottom of my heel and my hip. We call that under the triangle, or it's a lower percentage play obviously, but if you can make it, between my feet. So it's not always, and there's also space to my left and my right, but the tape pass is not always going to happen. Sometimes you're going to have to put puck to space, or we call it area passes, or be comfortable putting pucks underneath player sticks, overneath player sticks, like in this situation. This drill, again, mimics tight area plays that are very essential to have an effective power play.